Oh, alrighty. We're going back to the Abbey. I just did the showing of my face once. Well, I'm gonna leave it up just so people can find it and be like, "Oh, that's what he looks like." Okay, it's just to prove that I am an American. Yeah, just in case. Yeah. Anyway, beyond that, beyond that is apparently the. I'm gonna show this CNN. But there we go. Apparently, Senate bill passes 50 to 49. Slimmest of margins you could ever get. Slimmest of margins. No Republicans voted for it because they all have their uh, people that are like, no, 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 they need to fight for what they get. And that money should be for corporations so that they can bail themselves out, and probably, I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead and look through this here. Dispute. The dispute was a sign of the centrist Democrats' power in the 50-50 Senate. Long negotiation Friday evening with a flurry of other amendments to consider. Manchin finally agreed. Okay, so here we go. Joe Manchin, of course, a lot of folks are calling out for being basically being a dino, I guess, a Democrat in name only. And basically, this is kind of the example of being perpetually kicking the can down the road. Limited provision to make the first $10,200 in benefits non-taxable apply only to households. Unemployment benefits through September 6th. So once again, it's this whole, like I say, the U.S. is great at kicking the can down the road. Eventually we'll get something going. Eventually. Why don't we go hit, $300 weekly unemployment benefits. That's good enough. Through September 6th, who cares? We'll go ahead and fight about it later on. It goes to show that nothing is really solved in this country. And that ultimately it's just like, well, who cares really, right? This is why we have these, every couple of years, a federal government shutdown where, everybody's fighting about, oh, well, this is the reason why the shutdown happened. And, Ted Cruz and all these other goobers up there. We just perpetually kick the can down the road financially and economically, reach this compromise that enables it. So let's talk about more. $2 trillion package includes up to $1,400 stimulus checks to many Americans. Doesn't say all, says many. Billions of dollars of states and municipalities, schools, small businesses, and vaccine distribution. 15% increase in food stamp benefits from June to September. Once again, what's going to happen in September? Something else to fight about, something else to hold against people to say, well, we're going to, it's just another wedge issue. Helps low-income households cover rent, makes federal medium subsidies for Affordable Care Act policies, and more generous, and gives $8.5 billion for struggling rural hospitals and healthcare providers. The vote passed the bill after a vote-a-rama. A Senate tradition that the minority party uses to put the members of the majority on the record on controversial issues in an effort to make changes to a bill that they oppose. Sounds like blackmail. Senate Republicans introduced, look, you can read this for yourselves. First extraordinary long amendment vote, minimum wage to $15 an hour, was an early test of Democratic Party unity. 8 senators opposed the minimum wage amendment. And of course, Democrats then rejected a Republican motion to adjourn late Friday, banking that Republicans will grow weary and won't offer as many amendments. Early Saturday, the Senate adopted Ohio Republican Senator blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. Democratic-controlled House passed the legislation at the end of last month, along with an increase in the minimum wage to $15 an hour. But the Senate parliamentarian ruled that the wage hike could not be included in the Senate's version of the bill under reconciliation. That change and others, including the alterations to the jobless benefits, will force the House to vote again on the legislation, which is expected to happen next week. Once again, this is a perfect example of the U.S. just kicking the can down the road. Nothing is concrete. I think that's one of the biggest problems, I think, for the United States. Nothing is set in stone. And I don't expect things to be set in stone, but it's like, basically we're building a foundation on sand. Where it's like, we're going to keep things going until September. Could the government shut down and people won't be able to get their money? We don't care. We're going to do some political chess moves, and that's what it is. This is one of many thousands of millions of trillions of reasons why the United States as a nation is the way it is. But of course, people are so, I think it's polarization, but ultimately, I'll put it this way. I understand what Infrared says when he says that, I didn't care about when, Ginsburg died. And I think I can agree with his sentiment on that. He's just like, I just didn't care, I think it's the same thing when talking about, Democrats and Republicans and all this. I understood to a point what he said. I just feel like it's important to, I'm using this as a talking point to say how economically things work. Where we see that, it's all just kind of loose and up in the air, isn't it? Maybe we'll get this through. Maybe we won't, I was going to say the point of, oh my gosh, instead people are worried about mud bathrooms, or they're worried about, mud transgender laws in Alabama. People get so worried about that and not worried about the larger issues at hand of, this stimulus happening. So now $1,400 checks will come to many Americans, heavy quotes on that, and we're just kind of stuck in this malaise. Again, where a potential shutdown could happen and the federal government will be shut down and people won't get paid and everything else. And, we kind of get stuck in this this continued, pendulum swinging back and forth, And this is almost an anti-democratic argument. And I'm going to make the same old thing, but it's like, every 4 years these changes happen. But ultimately, the system pretty much stays the same. And like I say, maybe this is, very basic bitch sort of talking points, and I agree it is. But I think I'm glad that I forced myself to finally just stay away from Twitter and stay away from all the the minority sort of issues and the reading the titles of articles and being upset about it. Because there's so many people that do that, are arguing with some spurg, oh my gosh, some transgender who decided to make a edgy post. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I've been over that already, but it's like I'm forcing myself now to try to break out of that and to try to address some actual points and to actually try to talk about why things in the U.S. are the way that they are. Am I brilliant at it? Absolutely not. But I would like to think I'm on a better road to understanding why things are the way they are and what needs to happen to not fix it. Because fixing things like, that's like saying, you know, there's fixing your car and there's fixing the economy. It's like, I'm going to fix the economy. You can't fix an economy. You can make an economy stable for now, but the thing is, economies are in flux all the time, you know. And like I say, I saw this video from that economics explained guy, the Australian guy. He's talking about airlines and how prices are going to go down in there, and basically business class folks are pushing for their the people that go across the country to take coach instead of business class, and how the way that capitalism works and how the economy works, specifically the global economy, and how that's not a good thing because ultimately that means prices for the regular guy are going to be jacked up. And it's only going to be for the folks that need to travel across the country, paying, like $9,000 for, a trip from, I don't know, LA to, I don't know, let's say Kathmandu, I don't know, or, I don't know, traveling to, or wherever, traveling from Washington, D.C. to Berlin, whichever. I mean, it goes to show just how this economy goes. I mean, that's a very basic economic thing where it's like, okay, we're going to cut prices here. Okay. And it's like, we're going to save you money here. Okay. Who else is going to pay? Because someone's going to have to pay for it. I mean, even me learning a bit from marketing where it's like, there's a percentage that you pay, through each, I remember this from marketing metrics. I'm sorry, Dr. Wynn. I know Dr. Wynn's like, oh, you better get it right. I'm gonna. But there's that cycle between, okay, you go from your wholesaler to your retailer, to from manufacturer to retailer to wholesaler, and all these percentages are added on. And so this is why you get that final price because they get their money and so on and so forth. And that's how it works. I don't know. I'm probably not explaining that greatly, but it shows what a screwed up system that we're under. But it's the only system that we know. And people would rather, I think that people, it's one of those, it's the classic phrase of, do we go with the devil that we know or do we go with the devil that we don't know? And I think that's really what it comes down to between socialism versus capitalism. People will say, yeah, capitalism is awful, but it's a system that we know. And it's a system that we know leaves people out in the cold, but we can find our loopholes and live well enough. And I think that's one of the bigger problems. Or, people can, conservatives can continue to push the lie that's just like, you got to get up and produce goods and services for people. You got to get up there and do it. Get off your ass and do it. And, it's just unrealistic. Because pretty soon, when jobs get replaced by robots, what's going to be their response? When jobs get automated, what are their arguments going to be? Get off your ass when a plumber that's been working for 25 years has a robot or has, an automaton or whatever word you want to say that's able to do the same things, can have, can change out the hand for, a pipe wrench and being able to do it that way, yeah. I can only imagine it, can't you? The a robot that can change, their hand like a human hand, and it telescopes in and it changes out, kind of like one of those pens with multiple different types of ink. They have that big type of sort of hand and it changes out into a wrench. Two big pipe wrenches. You get the 45 pipe wrench or whatever, and you're doing that, getting it tight. And I don't know. It could happen. You never know. That's one of the tougher things. That's probably why plumbing will be one of the last things that's automated, because that'd be very complicated, wouldn't it? Same thing with HVAC guys. I imagine it's like, crawling under houses and whatnot. I don't know. You never know what society will come up with, and of course, there's going to be a fight and everything else. Those are usually, very empty fights, because ultimately people want to save money, and companies will be like, yeah, if I can get two or three of these things, you know, as a start, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, it's the same thing with McDonald's or wherever the case may be, where they can just, if you want to walk in, not now, but when it comes that you can walk in and you can just place your order in front of their little kiosk, and they make it, boom. I mean, pretty soon they'll be replacing the cooks and everything else. But you know, people can get into Andrew Yang and all that. I'm not gonna. Anyway, I went off on a long tangent, basically repeating stuff, and maybe there's a little bit of original content there. Excuse me. I hope you'll enjoy that. So see you later. Goodbye.